Captain Jake Morrison stood in the center of the massive chamber, his boots clicking against the smooth crystal floor. The sound echoed upward into the vast dome above him, where 12 floating platforms hung in perfect circles. Each platform held representatives from different alien races, all looking down at him like judges ready to pass sentence. The chamber was built to make visitors feel small. Jake knew this. The architects had designed every detail to intimidate anyone who dared to request an audience with the Galactic Council. The walls stretched up hundreds of feet, covered in patterns that hurt human eyes to look at directly. Strange lights danced between the platforms, casting shadows that moved in ways that defied physics. Ambassador Lisa Grant stood beside Jake, her hands folded behind her back. She had warned him about this moment during their long journey to Centauri Prime. The Council had already made their decision before the humans even arrived. This meeting was just for show, a way for the aliens to demonstrate their power over the younger races. "State your petition," came a voice that seemed to echo from everywhere at once. The translation device in Jake's ear turned the alien words into English, but it could not remove the cold dismissal in the tone. Lisa stepped forward. She had practiced this speech for months, choosing each word carefully. "Honored Council, humanity comes before you today seeking membership in the galactic community. We have maintained peaceful contact with your civilization for 50 years. Our people have learned your languages, studied your cultures, and followed your laws in all our dealings." A low sound came from one of the platforms above. It might have been laughter, but Jake could not be sure. The being on that platform had 4 arms and skin that shifted colors like oil on water. Its eyes, all 6 of them, focused on the humans below. "Peaceful contact," the creature said, its voice dripping with sarcasm. "Tell us, Ambassador Grant, about your people's recent history. Tell us about your wars." Lisa's jaw tightened, but her voice remained steady. "Humanity has indeed experienced conflicts in our past, but we have grown beyond those early mistakes. We have united our world under one government. We have eliminated poverty and disease. Our people now work together toward common goals." High Counselor Vexthani leaned forward on his platform. The Centauri leader was tall and thin, with pale blue skin and eyes that glowed like stars. His species had ruled the galaxy for thousands of years, and his arrogance showed in every movement. "United under one government after how many world wars?" Vexthani asked. "How many billions of your kind died in those conflicts? How many cities did you reduce to ash with your primitive nuclear weapons?" Jake felt heat rise in his chest. The Centauri spoke as if humans were children who had never grown up. But he kept his mouth shut. This was Lisa's show. "We do not deny our troubled past," Lisa replied. "But that past has taught us valuable lessons. We learned the cost of division and hatred. We learned that cooperation serves us better than conflict." Another counselor spoke up. This one was from the Karathi, a race that looked like giant insects. "Your species has existed for what, 200,000 years? And you achieved spaceflight only recently. Most civilized races reached the stars millions of years ago." "Youth does not equal worthlessness," Lisa said. "Fresh perspectives can benefit any organization." Vexthani made a sound that the translator could not interpret. "Fresh perspectives. Is that what you call it when your explorers push into space without regard for established boundaries? When your traders ignore proper protocols? When your scientists develop weapons that violate galactic treaties?" "We have followed all established treaties," Lisa protested. "Have you?" Vexthani's eyes grew brighter. "Your military vessels carry fusion missiles. Your colonies are defended by energy shields powered by quantum reactors. These technologies are restricted to council members only." Jake wanted to speak up, to point out the hypocrisy. The aliens sold these same technologies to dozens of other species. But humans were held to different standards because they were new, because they were feared. We purchased those technologies legally from approved vendors, Lisa said. Vendors who should have known better, muttered the Karathi counselor. We will be investigating those transactions. The chamber fell silent for a moment. Jake could hear his own heartbeat in his ears. Around him, holographic displays showed star maps and data streams. The technology was impressive, but it was also a reminder of how small humanity was in this vast galaxy. Vexthani stood up on his platform, his robes flowing around him like liquid light. The Galactic Council has reviewed humanity's petition for membership. We have studied your history, your culture, your capabilities. We have reached a unanimous decision. Jake felt Lisa tense beside him. They both knew what was coming. Humanity is denied membership in the Galactic Council, Vexthani announced. Your species is too young, too violent, too unpredictable to join civilized society. You have shown no evidence that you can control your aggressive instincts. Your rapid expansion into space demonstrates a concerning lack of respect for established order. The words hit Jake like physical blows. 50 years of careful diplomacy, decades of following every rule and regulation, all for nothing. Furthermore, Vexthani continued, humanity is restricted to its current territories. No new colonies will be permitted beyond the boundaries already established. Your military vessels are forbidden from entering Council space without express permission. Lisa found her voice. With respect, High Counselor, you are making a mistake. Humanity has much to offer the galaxy. Our innovation, our determination, our willingness to help others. Your determination? Vexthani laughed, a sound like breaking glass. You mean your stubborn refusal to accept your place in the natural order? Younger races must learn patience. They must prove themselves worthy over centuries, not decades. And how exactly are we supposed to prove ourselves if you will not give us the chance? Lisa asked. The question hung in the air for a long moment. Several council members shifted uncomfortably on their platforms. But Vexthani's expression did not change. That is not our concern, he said finally. Perhaps in a few hundred years. When your species has matured, we will reconsider. Until then, humanity must learn to be content with its limited role in the galaxy. Jake watched the other council members nod in agreement. Some looked uncomfortable with the decision, but none spoke up to challenge it. The unity of the council was more important than justice for humanity. This session is concluded, Vexthani declared. The human delegates will return to their ship and depart council space within 24 hours. The platforms began to drift away, carrying their alien occupants to other chambers and other business. Jake and Lisa were left standing alone in the vast space, their footsteps echoing as they walked toward the exit. Neither of them spoke until they reached their shuttle. The small craft seemed tiny after the overwhelming scale of the council chamber. As they strapped themselves in for the journey back to their ship, Lisa finally broke the silence. They are afraid of us, she said quietly. Jake looked at her in surprise. Afraid? They just told us we are too primitive to matter. Think about it, Lisa said as the shuttle lifted off. 50 years from first contact to space travel that rivals theirs. Technological advancement that took them millennia to achieve. Unity that their own species never managed. They are not dismissing us because we are weak. They are dismissing us because we are strong. Through the shuttle's window, Jake could see the Zentari capital city spreading out below them. Spires of crystal and metal reached toward the sky, connected by bridges of pure energy. It was beautiful, but it was also static. The same architecture that had dominated this world for thousands of years. So what do we do now? Jake asked. Lisa smiled. But there was steel in her expression. Now we show them what humanity can really do when we put our minds to it. They want to keep us locked in our little corner of space? Fine, we will make that corner into something they never expected. The shuttle cleared the atmosphere and docked with the UE's horizon. As Jake walked through the familiar corridors of the human ship, he felt something he had not expected after such a crushing defeat. He felt hope. The Galactic Council had made their choice. Now humanity would make theirs. Dr. Elena Rodriguez stared at the equations floating in the holographic display above her desk. The numbers had been taunting her for months, dancing just beyond her understanding. But today, something was different. Today, the pieces were finally falling into place. The rejection by the Galactic Council had changed everything for humanity. News of the humiliation had spread across Earth and its colonies within hours. But instead of despair, the response had been something else entirely. Anger, yes, but also determination. A cold, focused resolve that Elena had never seen in her species before. She worked in the Deep Space Research Center on Luna, humanity's moon. The facility had been expanded 3 times since the Council's rejection 2 years ago. What had once been a small scientific outpost was now a sprawling complex of laboratories and testing facilities. The best minds from Earth had come here to work on a single goal: making humanity independent of alien technology. "Elena, are you still in there?" The voice came from the laboratory door. Dr. Sam Rodriguez, her younger brother, poked his head. "Inside. It's past midnight again. Mom would kill you if she knew you were skipping meals." Elena looked up from her work, blinking in the artificial light. "I think I have it, Sam. I think I finally understand how to make it work." Sam walked over to look at the display. The equations meant nothing to him. He was a biologist, not a physicist. But he could see the excitement in his sister's eyes. "Make what work?" he asked. "Faster than light travel," Elena said. "Real FTL, not the slow tunnel drives the aliens use." "I think I know how to fold space itself." Sam felt his heart skip a beat. Humanity had been using alien FTL technology for 50 years, purchasing it at enormous cost from galactic traders. The drives were old, inefficient, and came with built-in limiters that prevented humans from traveling too far or too fast. It was another way the galaxy kept younger races under control. "Are you serious?" Sam asked. Elena nodded, her fingers dancing over the control panel. The holographic display shifted, showing a 3-dimensional model of space-time. "Look at this. The aliens think of space as something to tunnel through, like digging a hole from one point to another. But what if we could fold it instead? Bring 2 distant points together, so that stepping from one to the other requires no travel time at all." The model showed space bending like a piece of paper, 2 distant stars suddenly touching each other. Sam stared at it in wonder. "How long until you can build a prototype?" he asked. "That's the thing," Elena said, grinning. "I already have." She led him to another room in the laboratory. In the center sat a device about the size of a briefcase, connected to a massive power generator. It looked almost simple compared to the alien drives Sam had seen. "I tested it yesterday with a probe," Elena explained. "Sent it to Alpha Centauri and back in less than an hour. The aliens' best drives would take 3 days for the same trip." Sam stared at the device. "Does anyone else know about this?" "Not yet, but they will soon. I'm calling Admiral Sullivan in the morning." Admiral Kate Sullivan had become humanity's most important military leader since the Council's rejection. She had been working to reorganize human space forces, preparing for the day when they might need to defend themselves without alien protection. The development of independent FTL technology would change everything. Meanwhile, on the outer rim of human space, Commander Ryan Phillips was discovering just how much the galaxy had hidden from them. His exploration fleet had been pushing beyond the boundaries set by the Galactic Council, mapping star systems that supposedly contained nothing of interest. The Council had been wrong. Or perhaps they had been lying. "Captain, you need to see this," Lieutenant Amy Foster called from the sensor station of the UES Discovery. They were in the Kepler system, investigating a planet that alien charts marked as uninhabitable. Ryan moved to look over her shoulder. The sensor readings showed massive artificial structures on the planet's surface. Cities by the look of them, though the architecture was unlike anything in the galactic database. Are they active? Ryan asked. Unknown, sir. But the structures appear to be in good condition. Someone built all of this recently. Ryan made a decision that would have gotten him court-martialed under the old human government. Take us down for a closer look. The Discovery descended through the planet's atmosphere. As they got closer, the scope of the structures became clear. This was not just a city. It was an entire civilization, complete with spaceports and orbital elevators, but it was empty. The landing party that Ryan led to the surface found no signs of life. The buildings were intact, the technology still functional, but the inhabitants were gone. It was as if an entire species had simply vanished. In the central plaza of the main city, they found a monument. The writing was in a language that their computers could not translate, but the images told a story. A proud people, advanced and peaceful, reaching for the stars, and then darkness. Ships arriving from space, the people being herded into vessels. The cities falling silent. Slavers, Ryan said quietly. Someone came here and took them all. Amy checked her scanner readings. Sir, the timeline suggests this happened less than 50 years ago. Right around the time humanity made first contact with the galactic community. Ryan felt a chill run down his spine. While humans had been celebrating their introduction to galactic civilization, somewhere in the same galaxy, an entire species had been enslaved and removed from their homeworld. The Galactic Council, with all their talk of civilized behavior and proper protocols, had done nothing to stop it. Back on Earth, President Maria Santos was dealing with the political aftermath of the Council's rejection. The unity that had emerged in response to the humiliation was holding, but it required careful management. Different nations and colonies had different ideas about how humanity should respond. The Chinese delegation wants to begin immediate military expansion, her chief of staff reported during their morning briefing. The Europeans are pushing for a diplomatic solution. The African Union thinks we should focus on economic independence. Maria nodded thoughtfully. What about the colonies? Mars and Luna are backing the military expansion. The outer colonies want to push further into unexplored space. Everyone agrees on one thing, though. We cannot let the aliens control our future anymore. That afternoon, Maria received a call that changed everything. Admiral Sullivan was on the line from Luna, her voice crackling with excitement. Madam President, we have a breakthrough. Dr. Rodriguez has developed a new form of FTL drive. It's faster than anything the aliens have, and it's completely independent of their technology. Maria felt her heart race. How much faster? 10 times? Faster at minimum, maybe more with refinement. We could reach the edge of the galaxy in months instead of decades. How long until we can mass produce them? That's the beautiful part, Sullivan said. The drives are simpler than alien technology. We could have the first production models ready in 6 months. Maria stood up and walked to the window of her office. Outside, she could see the sprawling cityscape of New Geneva, the seat of the United Earth government. In the distance, spacecraft were launching from the orbital elevator, carrying supplies and personnel to the growing lunar facilities. Admiral, I want you to coordinate with Commander Phillips' exploration fleet. Use this new drive to map everything beyond Council space. I want to know what they have been hiding from us. Yes, ma'am. What should I tell Dr. Rodriguez? Maria smiled. Tell her that she just gave humanity its freedom. Over the following months, the changes came rapidly. The new quantum fold drives, as Alina had named them, were installed on human ships across the fleet. Exploration vessels pushed deeper into space than any human had ever gone. Trade ships began establishing direct contact with species that the Galactic Council had never mentioned, and what they found shocked them. The galaxy was full of species that existed outside the Council's control. Some, like the people whose empty cities Ryan had discovered, had been enslaved or destroyed. Others had simply been ignored, deemed too primitive or too distant to matter. Still others had been actively suppressed, prevented from developing or expanding by Council interference. Commander Ryan Phillips, now promoted to captain, led the first contact mission to the Cathara system. The insectoid species there had been providing raw materials to the Galactic Council for centuries, working in conditions that could only be described as slavery. They told us it was the natural order, the Cathara leader explained through a translation device. The strong rule the weak. We were weak, so we served. Not anymore, Ryan replied. Humanity offers you a choice. Join us as equals, or continue as you are. But know that you are not alone in the galaxy anymore. The Cathara chose to join. Within 2 years of the Council's rejection, humanity had established the Alliance of Free Worlds. 23 species had joined, all of them existing outside the Council's control. They shared technology, resources, and most importantly, a common goal: to build a galaxy where strength was not the only measure of worth. Dr. Elena Rodriguez, now the head of the Alliance's technology division, stood in her new laboratory on the space station that served as the Alliance headquarters. Through the viewing port, she could see ships from a dozen different species working together to expand the facility. Captain Amy Foster stood on the bridge of the U's Liberation, watching the planet below through the main display. The world looked peaceful from orbit, with green continents and blue oceans. But she knew the truth. Down there, millions of Cathara workers toiled in mining facilities, forced to extract rare metals for their Zentari masters. Are all teams ready? Amy asked her communications officer. Strike teams Alpha through Delta are in position, Lieutenant Charlie Brooks reported. The Cathara resistance fighters are standing by, Amy nodded. It had taken 6 months to plan this operation. 6 months of secret meetings with Cathara rebels who had smuggled messages off-world, begging for help. The Alliance of Free Worlds had voted unanimously to answer that call. Begin the operation, Amy ordered. Across the planet's surface, human teams moved with precision learned from years of military training. But this was not a conquest. This was liberation. Each team worked alongside Cathara rebels who knew the locations of the prison camps and mining facilities. The Zentari guards were caught completely off guard. They had grown lazy over the centuries, confident that no one would dare challenge their authority. Their weapons were outdated, their tactics ancient. Against human technology and determination, they stood no chance. In the main mining complex, General Paul Davis led the assault personally. The Zentari commander, a tall alien with silver skin and 4 arms, tried to negotiate as human soldiers surrounded his position. You cannot do this, the commander said, his translator device making his words sound mechanical. This world belongs to the Zentari Empire. These workers are legally bound to their contracts. Paul looked at the alien with disgust. Contracts signed at gunpoint are not legal where I come from. The liberation of Cathara Prime took less than 12 hours. When it was over, Amy stood in the planet's capital city, watching Cathara families reunite with relatives they had not seen in decades. Children who had been born in captivity saw the sky without bars for the first time. Dr. Sam Torres, the Alliance's chief diplomat, worked with the Cathara leaders to establish their new government. The insectoid beings were intelligent and capable, but centuries of oppression had made them cautious about trusting anyone. We are grateful for your help, the Cathara elder said, her mandibles clicking nervously. But what do you want in return? Nothing in the galaxy is free. Sam smiled gently. We want you to be free, that's all. If you choose to join the Alliance as equals, we welcome you. If you prefer to remain independent, we respect that choice." The elder stared at him for a long moment. "No one has ever said such words to my people before." News of the Cathara liberation spread across the galaxy like wildfire. On dozens of worlds, oppressed species looked up at the stars and wondered if help might be coming for them too. In the halls of power on Council worlds, the ruling classes felt the first stirrings of fear. High Counselor Vexthani called an emergency session of the Galactic Council. The chamber that had once seemed so imposing now felt smaller somehow. The same platforms floated in their ancient patterns, but the beings on them looked worried. "The humans have crossed a line," Vexthani announced. "They have attacked a legally recognized Zentari colony and stolen valuable workers. This aggression cannot be tolerated." Counselor Damish of the Karathi shifted uneasily on his platform. "Perhaps we should have taken their expansion more seriously. Our intelligence reports suggest they now control over 100 star systems." "Impossible," snorted Counselor Yextar of the Vegan Confederacy. "They are a single species. We represent dozens of advanced civilizations. A single species that has united dozens of others under their banner," Damesh replied. "Our spies report that the Alliance of Free Worlds now includes over 40 different races." Vexthani's eyes blazed with anger. "Then we crush them before they grow stronger. I propose immediate military action." But not all council members agreed. Some had been receiving disturbing reports from their own territories. Species that had served the council for millennia were beginning to ask uncomfortable questions about their status. Revolts were breaking out on several worlds. Meanwhile, in the Outer Rim, Captain Ryan Phillips was making contact with the most mysterious species humanity had yet encountered. The Nexari had been watching the galaxy for thousands of years, but they had never revealed themselves to the Galactic Council. Their ship was unlike anything in the galactic databases. It seemed to be made of living crystal that pulsed with internal light. When the Nexari captain appeared on Ryan's viewscreen, he looked almost human, but his skin had a metallic sheen and his eyes were solid silver. "I am Captain Zektar of the Nexari Exploration Fleet," the alien said. "We have been observing your species with great interest. Why haven't you made contact with the Galactic Council?" Ryan asked. Zek single quotes tar made a sound that might have been laughter. "We tried many centuries ago. They demanded that we submit to their authority and share our technology. When we refused, they declared us hostile and tried to conquer our worlds. What happened? We disappeared," Zektar said simply. "We have technologies that make concealment simple. We have been watching ever since, waiting for someone to challenge the Council's tyranny." Ryan felt excitement building in his chest. "Are you willing to join the Alliance? We have been waiting for you to ask." The addition of the Nexari to the Alliance changed everything. Their technology was centuries ahead of even the Council races. They had weapons that could disable entire fleets without destroying them, shields that could protect planets from orbital bombardment, and sensors that could detect cloaked ships from across star systems. But more importantly, they had knowledge. They knew the true history of the galaxy, the civilizations that the Council had destroyed or enslaved, the technologies that had been suppressed to maintain the status quo. Dr. Alina Rodriguez worked with Nexari, scientists to upgrade the Alliance fleet. The new ships that emerged from their joint research were marvels of engineering. They could travel faster than anything in the galaxy, fight battles across multiple dimensions, and most importantly, they could not be detected by Council sensors. Commander Beth Parker led the first of these new ships on a rescue mission to the Altair system. Intelligence reports suggested that the Council was planning to eliminate a species called the humans there as an example to other rebellious races. When Beth's task force arrived at Altair, they found a Council fleet already in position around the planet. 12 massive warships, each one capable of destroying a world, were preparing to bombard the surface. "This is Admiral Korthak of the Zentari Imperial Fleet," came a transmission. "You are entering a restricted zone. Depart immediately, or be destroyed." Beth smiled coldly. "This is Commander Parker of the Alliance Liberation Fleet. You are the ones who need to leave." The Council Admiral laughed. "You have 5 ships. I have 12. Do the math, human." "I did," Beth replied. "It doesn't look good for you." The battle that followed became legendary throughout the galaxy. The Alliance ships moved like ghosts, appearing and disappearing at will. Their weapons cut through Council shields like paper. In less than an hour, the entire Zentari fleet was disabled and adrift, but Beth had not come to fight. She had come to save lives. While her ships held the Council fleet helpless, Alliance transports descended to the planet below. They offered evacuation to any members of the threatened species who wanted to leave. Thousands accepted the offer. The rescue of the Altarians sent shockwaves through Council space. For the first time in galactic history, a Council military operation had been stopped by force. The myth of Council invincibility was shattered. President Maria Santos addressed the galaxy from the Alliance headquarters. Her words were broadcast on every known frequency, translated into hundreds of languages. "To the oppressed peoples of the galaxy," she said, "know that you are not alone. The Alliance of Free Worlds stands ready to help any species that desires freedom. We do not seek to conquer or control. We offer only the chance to choose your own destiny." "To the Galactic Council," she continued, her voice growing harder, "your age of tyranny is ending. We give you one opportunity to reform your ways, release the species you have enslaved, end the oppression of younger races. Join us in building a better galaxy. If you choose to fight instead, know that we are ready for you." On Zentari Prime, High Counselor Vexthani watched the broadcast with growing rage. Around him, other council members argued about how to respond. Some wanted to negotiate. Others demanded immediate military action. "Enough!" Vexthani shouted, his voice echoing through the chamber. "These humans think they can dictate terms to us. We who have ruled the galaxy for millennia. I will show them the price of defying the natural order." He turned to his military advisor. "Prepare the Grand Fleet. Every ship, every weapon, every soldier at our disposal. We end this rebellion once and for all." But as Vexthani made his preparations for war, he did not know that Alliance agents had been watching and listening. The Nexari had taught humanity many things, including how to gather intelligence without being detected. In a secure chamber deep within Alliance headquarters, General Paul Davis studied the intercepted communications with grim satisfaction. "They're coming with everything they have," he told the assembled Alliance leaders. Fleet Admiral Alex Turner stood on the bridge of the UES Defiance, watching the Council Armada approach through the darkness of space. The enemy fleet was massive, stretching across the star system like a metal storm cloud. 5,000 warships from 12 different species, all united under the Galactic Council banner. It was the largest military force assembled in galactic history. "Admiral, we're receiving a transmission from the Council flagship," Lieutenant Dan Wright reported from the communication station. "Put it through," Alex ordered. High Counselor Vexthani appeared on the main screen, his pale blue face twisted with rage. Behind him, Alex could see the bridge of the massive Zentari dreadnought, easily 10 times the size of any human ship. "Admiral Turner," Vexthani said, his voice dripping with contempt, "I offer you one final chance to surrender. Return to your designated territories, release all stolen workers, and submit to Council authority. Do this, and your species will be allowed to survive." Alex looked at the alien leader with calm eyes. "Counteroffer, Vexthani. You withdraw your forces, recognize the independence of all Alliance worlds, and we'll let you go home without a fight." Vexthani laughed. a harsh sound that made the bridge speakers crackle. "You have 2,000 ships. I have 5,000. Your arrogance will be your destruction." "Numbers don't win wars," Alex replied. "Strategy does. Ask your historians about a little place called Thermopylae." The transmission ended. Around the Defiance, the Alliance fleet moved into battle formation. Ships from dozens of species worked together as if they had trained for years. Human vessels with their sleek designs flew alongside crystalline Nexari cruisers and insectoid Cathara fighters. "All ships report ready," Admiral Alex's second-in-command, Captain Lisa Harper, announced. Lisa had become famous throughout the Alliance for her tactical brilliance. Where other commanders saw problems, she saw opportunities. "Begin Operation Lighthouse," Alex ordered. The first phase of the battle was unlike anything the galaxy had ever seen. The Alliance ships simply vanished. One moment they were there, the next they had disappeared completely from Council sensors. Vexthani's fleet found itself shooting at empty space. "Impossible," the Zentari admiral muttered. "No cloaking technology." "Is that advanced?" But this was not cloaking. This was phase shifting, a technology the Nexari had perfected over centuries. The Alliance ships had moved slightly out of normal space, existing in a dimension where they could see and shoot, but could not be seen or hit. The Council fleet fired wildly in all directions, their weapons passing harmlessly through empty space. Meanwhile, Alliance vessels picked their targets carefully. Precise strikes disabled Council ships without destroying them. The goal was not slaughter, but victory. General Lisa Harper coordinated the attack from her command ship, the U.E.'s Prometheus. Her tactical display showed the entire battle in real time. Red dots marked Council ships, blue dots showed Alliance vessels, and green indicators tracked disabled enemies. "Focus fire on their command ships," Lisa ordered. "Take out their coordination, and the rest will follow." Captain Amy Foster led a squadron of fast attack ships in a daring raid on the Council flagship. Her ships materialized directly next to the massive dreadnought, their weapons already charging. "This is for every species." "You enslaved," Amy whispered as she fired. The Zentari flagship's shields collapsed under the concentrated assault. Emergency lights flashed across its hull as systems failed one by one. In the command center, Vexthani watched his perfect fleet crumble around him. How are they doing this? He demanded of his tactical officer. "Unknown, sir. Our weapons cannot." "Lock onto them. They appear and disappear at will. It's like fighting ghosts." On another part of the battlefield, Commander Beth Parker led a rescue operation to save the crews of disabled Council ships. Even in the heat of battle, the Alliance maintained its principles. Enemy soldiers were given medical aid and safe passage to neutral worlds. This mercy confused the Council forces more than any weapon could have. They had expected the humans to fight like animals, to show the same brutality that marked Council warfare. Instead, they found an enemy that fought with precision and honor. Dr. San Torres monitored communications from his position on the Alliance command station. His job was to intercept enemy transmissions and coordinate with Alliance spies throughout Council space. "Admiral Turner," Sam reported, "we're receiving surrender signals from the Karathi wing. They're requesting safe passage out of the battle." "Zone," Alex nodded. "Granted. Anyone who wants to leave can go." This offer split the Council fleet. Some commanders, seeing the hopelessness of their situation, took the opportunity to withdraw. Others, driven by pride or fear of Vexthani's wrath, continued fighting. The battle raged for 6 hours. When it ended, 4,000 Council ships were either destroyed or disabled. The Alliance had lost less than 50 vessels. It was not just a victory. It was a demonstration that the old order was finished, but the war was far from over. President Maria Santos stood in the war room of Alliance headquarters, studying reports from across the galaxy. The victory at Kepler Station had sent shockwaves through Council space, but it had also hardened resistance in other areas. The Vegan Confederacy is mobilizing their home fleet, General Paul Davis reported. Intelligence suggests they're planning to attack our colonies in the Tau Ceti system. What about the other council races? Maria asked. Mixed reactions, Dr. Elena Rodriguez answered from her position at the science station. The Arcturians are calling for peace negotiations. The Draconis Empire is threatening to use planet-killer weapons. The Karathi have officially withdrawn from the council altogether. Maria nodded thoughtfully. The alliance had achieved its military objectives, but winning the peace would be harder than winning the war. On the Outer Rim, Captain Ryan Phillips was discovering just how desperate some council members had become. His exploration fleet had detected massive energy readings from the vegan home system. When they arrived to investigate, they found something horrifying. The vegans were building a weapon capable of destroying entire star systems, not just planets, but the stars themselves. It was a doomsday device designed to take the galaxy down with them if they could not rule it. How long until it's operational? Ryan asked his science officer. Based on these readings, maybe 6 months, Lieutenant Charlie Brooks replied. But sir, if they use this thing, it could trigger a chain reaction. Multiple star systems could be destroyed. Ryan made the hardest decision of his career. Signal the fleet, we're going in. The assault on the vegan weapon facility was the bloodiest battle of the war. Unlike previous engagements, this time the Alliance had no choice but to use overwhelming force. The weapon was too dangerous to leave intact. Captain Amy Foster led the final assault on the weapon platform itself. Her strike team fought through automated defenses and vegan soldiers who knew they were fighting for their species' survival. In the weapons control chamber, Amy faced the vegan commander, a being with gray skin and multiple tentacles instead of arms. You cannot stop us, the vegan hissed. If we cannot rule the galaxy, no one will. That's where you're wrong, Amy replied, her weapon trained on the alien. Someone has to think about the future. The weapon was destroyed with minutes to spare. Analysis of its remains confirmed that it could have indeed triggered a galactic catastrophe. The Alliance had not just won a battle. They had saved countless worlds from destruction. News of the vegan weapon spread across the galaxy like wildfire. Species that had remained neutral in the conflict began to question the Council's methods. If they were willing to destroy entire star systems rather than give up power, what kind of leaders were they? High Counselor Vexthani found himself increasingly isolated. One by one, Council member species began withdrawing from the alliance that had ruled the galaxy for millennia. Some joined the Alliance of Free Worlds. Others declared neutrality. A few simply vanished into deep space. On Zentari Prime, riots broke out in the capital city. Zentari citizens, learning the truth about their government's actions, demanded change. The species that had once seemed united in their superiority was tearing itself apart. Admiral Alex Turner received the final surrender while his fleet maintained orbit around the Zentari homeworld. The once mighty Council fleet was scattered across the galaxy, its ships either destroyed, captured, or fled to neutral space. This is High Counselor Vexthani, came the transmission to Alex's flagship. The alien leader looked broken, his proud bearing replaced by exhausted defeat. I hereby surrender all Council forces to the Alliance of Free Worlds. Alex felt no satisfaction in the moment. Too many had died on both sides. Too much damage had been done to the galaxy's trust. The terms are simple, Alex replied. All enslaved species are to be freed immediately. All aggressive military action stops now. War crimes tribunals will be established to judge those responsible for atrocities. And what of us? Vexthani asked. What happens to the Council races? That's up to you, Alex said. The Alliance offers membership to any species willing to live in peace. But the days of ruling over others are finished. General Lisa Harper watched the surrender from her command ship. Around her, Alliance officers celebrated the end of the war. But Lisa was already thinking about what came next. Ambassador Charlie Brooks stood in the same chamber where humanity had once been rejected, but everything had changed. The floating platforms that had once held proud council members now served as speaking areas for representatives from over 200 species. The crystal walls, once designed to intimidate, now displayed images of reconstruction efforts across the galaxy. Charlie looked up at the platform where High Counselor Vexthani sat in chains. The former ruler of the galaxy appeared smaller now, his blue skin pale and his glowing eyes dimmed. Around him sat other former council leaders, all awaiting judgment for their crimes. The tribunal will now hear testimony regarding the enslavement of the Cathara people, announced Judge Elena Rodriguez. Dr. Rodriguez had accepted the position reluctantly, but someone had to ensure justice was done fairly. A Cathara survivor stepped forward, her insect-like features showing the scars of decades in the mines. My name is Zektar. I was taken from my family when I was 5 years old. I never saw them again. For 60 years, I worked in the dark, digging metals to make the Zentari rich. Charlie watched Vexthani's face as the testimony continued. The former High Counselor showed no emotion, no remorse. Even in defeat, he believed he had done nothing wrong. More witnesses came forward. A Nexari elder spoke of his people being forced into hiding. An Altarian mother described watching her children loaded onto slave ships. A human diplomat read the names of species that had been completely eliminated by Council forces. The testimony went on for days. When it finally ended, Judge Rodriguez called for the verdict. Former High Counselor Vexthani, she said, her voice echoing through the chamber. You are found guilty of crimes against sentient beings, genocide, and violations of galactic law. However, this tribunal recognizes that revenge serves no one. Vexthani looked up, confusion in his eyes. Your sentence is exile to a colony world where you will work to help rebuild what you destroyed. You will spend the rest of your life in service to those you wronged. Charlie saw something he had not expected. Relief in the alien's face. Vexthani had expected execution. Instead, he was being given a chance to make amends. Across the galaxy, similar tribunals were taking place. But for every judgment passed, there were a dozen reconstruction projects beginning. The Alliance had meant what they said about building something better. On the former Zentari homeworld, now renamed New Hope, President Maria Santos stirred a refugee settlement. Thousands of beings from dozens of species were working together to build new homes. Former enemies labored side by side, united by common purpose. How are the integration programs working? Maria asked Director Sam Torres, who had taken charge of refugee resettlement. Better than expected, Sam replied. Turns out most species want the same things. Safety for their families, meaningful work, a chance to build something for their children. They walked past a construction site where humans and Zentari were building houses together. A year ago, these same beings had been shooting at each other across space. Now they were sharing tools and teaching each other building techniques. The hardest part is helping them trust again, Sam continued. Many of these people have never known anything but oppression. The idea that they can choose their own leaders, speak freely, travel where they want. It's overwhelming, Maria nodded. Freedom was not just a political concept. It was a skill that had to be learned. In the Outer Rim, Captain Amy Foster was dealing with a different kind of problem. Her ship, the Hughes Liberation, had responded to a distress call from a remote system. What they found was a group of former Council ships attacking a peaceful settlement. These are pirates, Lieutenant Dan Wright reported from the sensor station. Former Council military who refused to surrender. Amy studied the tactical display. The pirates had 3 warships against her single vessel, but she had advantages they did not expect. "Open a channel," she ordered. The pirate leader appeared. On screen, a scarred Draconis with cybernetic implants covering half his face. "Surrender your cargo, and no one gets hurt, human." "I have a better idea," Amy replied. "Surrender now and you get a fair trial instead of a quick death," the Draconis laughed. "One ship against 3, you're either brave or stupid." "Actually, I'm neither," Amy said. She turned to her tactical officer. Now, the space around the pirate ship suddenly filled with Alliance vessels. 50 ships materialized out of phase shift, surrounding the pirates completely. The technology that had won the war continued to serve the peace. "This is Admiral Alex Turner," came a voice over the communication system. "Pirates, you are surrounded. Surrender immediately." The pirate leader's expression changed from confidence to terror. "This is impossible. Our sensors showed only one ship. Sensors can be fooled," Amy said. "But justice cannot be avoided." The pirates surrendered without firing a shot. They would face trial for their crimes, but they would also be offered a chance at redemption. Just like everyone else. Back on New Hope, Dr. Elena Rodriguez was working on humanity's greatest challenge yet. Not a weapon or a ship, but something far more complex, a system of government that could represent hundreds of different species fairly. "The problem is cultural differences," she explained to the Constitutional Committee. "What works for humans might not work for insectoids. What makes sense to the Nexari might confuse the Cathara. So we adapt," said Counselor Zara Kett, one of the few former council members who had joined the Alliance. "We create a system flexible enough to accommodate everyone." The new Galactic Constitution took 2 years to write. It established basic rights that applied to all sentient beings, while allowing individual species to govern themselves according to their own traditions. The central government would handle only matters that affected multiple species: trade, exploration, defense, and justice. Most importantly, no single species could dominate the others. Power would be shared equally, with decisions made by consensus rather than force. When the Constitution was finally ratified, Charlie Brooks stood once again in the Great Chamber. But this time, he was not pleading for acceptance. He was helping to swear in the first elected representatives of the new Galactic Republic. "Do you solemnly swear to represent all sentient beings with fairness and justice?" Charlie asked. "We do," came the response from 200 voices speaking in dozens of languages. President Maria Santos watched the ceremony from the gallery. Beside her sat Admiral Alex Turner, now retired from military service and serving as the Republic's First Secretary of Defense. General Lisa Harper had taken a position as head of the new Galactic Peacekeeping Force, dedicated to preventing conflicts rather than winning them. "Think it will work?" Alex asked quietly. "It has to," Maria replied. "We've shown them that the old ways lead to destruction. Now we have to prove that the new ways lead to something better." The ceremony concluded with a moment of silence for all those who had died under the old system. Then, as representatives from across the galaxy began their work, the chamber filled with the sound of hope. Dr. San Torres, now serving as the Republic's Minister of Species Relations, brought Maria a report on the latest developments. "The Karathi have requested membership," he said. "They've dissolved their military caste system and established democratic elections." "And the Zentari?" Maria asked. "Slower progress, but they're trying. The younger generation is more open to change. Give them time." Time was something the galaxy had plenty of now. Without the constant threat of war and oppression, species could focus on growth and exploration. New technologies emerged from the collaboration between different civilizations. Art and culture flourished as beings learned from each other. But perhaps the most important change was in how the galaxy viewed itself. The old divisions between civilized and primitive species had disappeared. Every being was valued for their unique contributions. 5 years after the war's end, Charlie Brooks returned to the chamber for a special ceremony. The spot where High Counselor Vexthani had once delivered humanity's rejection now held a simple memorial. The inscription read, "To all who suffered under tyranny, and to all who fought for freedom. Your sacrifice created the foundation for a better tomorrow." Charlie smiled as he read the words. They were written in every known language, a symbol of the unity that had replaced the old divisions. A young Zentari approached him, one of the new generation that had grown up in the Republic. "Ambassador Brooks, my teacher said you were there when the humans were first rejected. Is it true that the Council called you primitive?" Charlie looked down at the child, whose blue skin glowed with health and whose eyes shone with curiosity. "Yes, they did. But you came back anyway?" "We came back to build something better," Charlie explained. "Not for revenge, but for justice, not to rule, but to serve." The child nodded thoughtfully. "My parents say the old council thought strength meant making others weak. But humans taught us that real strength means making everyone stronger." Charlie felt tears in his eyes. This child understood what it had taken the galaxy millennia to learn. As he walked through the corridors of the Republic building, Charlie passed beings from across the known galaxy working together on countless projects. Former enemies collaborated on medical research. Ancient rivals shared technological breakthroughs. Species that had never met before formed new friendships and alliances.